Austin Peterson has gone really wrong here. And we're going to be talking about some intense stuff, and I will show you some intense photos. So if you have any functioning left in your empathy machine, you might consider not looking when I warn you when I show you some of these pictures. But I'm not going to pull my punches because this is absolute insanity from somebody that ran to be a presidential candidate in the Libertarian Party in 2016. This guy calls himself a libertarian, speaks as if he's a libertarian, and then literally endorses nuclear bombing of innocent people in Hiroshima, which is what we're about to look at here. So, let's start with the easy stuff. Just the patently, obviously wrong stuff from Austin Peterson. This is a recent tweet. And by recent, I mean yesterday. He says, the NAP, the non-aggression principle, is pacifist anarchism. And that's okay. Just don't force your pacifism on me, man. This is a libertarian presidential candidate in the Libertarian Party with a blatant lack of knowledge on the fundamental core principle of the Libertarian Party and libertarians. This is one of the absolute clearest, most obvious examples of the dumpster fire that is the Libertarian Party. Dumpster fire. When presidential candidates, when a person can make it all the way to the presidential race in a party and have no understanding whatsoever of its core principles, you know that you're dealing with something utterly useless and self-contradictory. The NAP is not pacifism. It is not pacifism. The NAP is don't start the fight-ism. Don't start none, won't be none-ism. It's if you're attacked, destroy your opponent if necessary to defend yourself. That's the non-aggression principle. And that's about as not pacifism as you can get. And for him to not know that is shameful. And for him to tell people, to tell his followers, how many followers does he have? 67,000 people. For him to tell for him to give 67,000 people an absolutely backwards and inaccurate impression of the core principle of libertarians and the Libertarian Party, that's messed up, man. That is shameful. Shame, shame, shame. But the level of shame that is precisely nothing in comparison to what I'm about to show you from Twitter from yesterday. I did research on the bombing, the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki a couple years ago, and there was a couple weeks after I really did my research into it that I was just emotionally drained. The atrocity that the U.S. military visited upon the innocent people in that country, the innocent, peaceful people that had nothing to do with the war and that certainly did not consent or have anything to do with the war, and the very real atrocities that that they visited on peaceful people in this country. This is not a discounting of that. It's just really deeply disturbing. And so I'm going to show you his tweets, and I'm going to show you photos that pretty clearly directly contradict his position on this. So it kind of all started with this right here. Austin Peterson. So he's retweeting, or he's responding to some Al Jazeera English, the Twitter account, mentioning that August 6 marks the 75th anniversary of the world's first atomic bombing that killed more than 140,000 people. The U.S. has never apologized for the bombings. And he retweets saying, "Apologies are for when you have done something wrong." I mean, I saw this tweet and I am just floored. And so this is going to be your content warning, folks. If you don't want to see this, I don't know, look away from your screen and maybe just listen to my voice. but I'm going to show you some pictures of what he considers doing nothing wrong. The U.S. military at that time melted babies. And he's saying that they did nothing wrong. And I'm not doing this to be like, look, when I had to go back to find these photos to show you for this story today, like I knew what I was getting into and I was really questioning if I should even do this. But I just need to juxtapose these two positions. And I want to make the point of how deeply the belief in the authority of the government and the existence of governments and these collectivizing entities, how deeply that can go wrong. He says, nuking Hiroshima and Nagasaki was the right move, to be honest. And if Truman had listened to MacArthur, maybe we wouldn't have a COVID-19 pandemic. Nuking Hiroshima and Nagasaki was the right move, to be honest, he says. Melted children, melted that had nothing to do with this. Had no consent in the matter. They certainly weren't attackers. They had nothing to do with it. These are innocent, peaceful people. These were civilians. These were non-combatants. This is some of the greatest evil that has ever happened on this planet. Austin says, the Japanese weren't going to surrender. I know libertarians love simping for Imperial Japan, but that's just not the case. So, standing for libertarian principle, don't initiate force, don't hurt innocent people. He's now going to twist that into simping for communist Imperial Japan. This guy made it to the main stage in a presidential debate for the Libertarian Party. You know, people make fun of, what was his name? The moronic Libertarian presidential candidate from a few years ago. I'm terrible with names, I forgot, but what is it? The Aleppo guy. Somebody help me.
Johnson,
thank you. People make fun of him for being a moron. This is far worse. This is far, far worse. He's calling people, principled people that don't want to hurt innocent people, simps for a communist country. Just evil, just vile. Like little kids melted on the streets. And then he's making fun of libertarians again. We should not go to war unless there's a constitutional declaration of war, which is not a libertarian position to begin with by any stretch, even though some libertarians might try and say that. That is an inconsistent libertarian position because we should not go to war ever. It's individuals that act, not collectives. And then he says, USA declares war, constitutionally nukes Japan. Libertarians not like that. There's not much truth at all in that entire statement. So, it's just like kids getting blinded. This one was basically hit by the radiation so hard that it died of severe burns over the course of several weeks. It's just an atrocity. It is just an absolute atrocity. You cannot call an act that hurts new, innocent, peaceful people an act of self-defense. That is a contradiction. It is not self-defense when you're creating new, innocent victims. And you can't tell me under any circumstances that those children were anything other than peaceful, innocent victims. And in some of his other tweets, and I don't have them pulled up here, but he basically blamed the parents. He's like, oh, we dropped leaflets letting them know we were going to melt them. And so it's those parents' fault for not getting them and their children out of the area. Just mind-numbingly absurd. Like, if I warn an innocent person that I'm about to murder their family and children, that doesn't somehow excuse me then murdering their family and children. This is like Ethics 101. This isn't even libertarian principle. This is just warning somebody that you're going to do something evil in no way excuses then doing the evil thing. That's not even that's just basic ethics. Yeah, I'm kind of speechless, but that's what I wanted to show you guys. Oh, that's a good point. Kason's reminding me of the Libertarian pledge. That
top me up full.
There you go. To join the Libertarian Party, you have to sign on to the Libertarian pledge. That is, I hereby certify that I do not believe in or advocate the initiation of force as a means of achieving political or social goals. Nuking Hiroshima and Nagasaki was the right move, to be honest. So either he lied when he signed the pledge, maybe he's changed his opinion since, but man, this is the dumpster fire that is politics. It is a complete antithesis of principle. Just insanity.
The pledge is what I use to talk with Libertarian Pahtay candidates and members whenever they say anarchism is inconsistent with libertarian ideals. And I say, well, what part of it is inconsistent with, I certify that I do not believe in or advocate the initiation of force as a means of achieving political or social goals. And so far, I've not heard a good rebuttal from that. As a lot of people say that, libertarians are for like national defense or infrastructure, roads, these hoe-ass roads. They say that, and then I say, well, how do you want to pay for them? And the moment they say taxes, I go, I hereby certify that I do not believe and advocate the initiation of force as means of achieving political or social goals. So how are you going to pay for it? And then they come down to this point of, because I cannot figure it out in the moment, therefore I must violate ethics. I must not have my principles. Because it is expedient, I will wash away my ethical principles for the moment. Because it's easier to just say, I can't figure it out. I don't know if people would be able to do it. So therefore, we're just going to tax everybody. Or whatever other violation of ethics they want to promulgate. So yeah, that's the libertarian contradiction in a nutshell. Kind of a paradox, really.
You were super popular when you did that, I'm sure.
They gave me the nickname NODA, which is shorthand libertarian speak for none of the above, because I went to the county.
Go ahead.
I went to the county party process to try to pick who's going to be the state delegate and blah, 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 blah. And I proposed the rule. I had somebody translate into Robert's rules because that's a thing. I had somebody translate into Robert's rules for me the idea of basically anybody who's running, give them a minute to 2 minutes to state their principles, basically, and then allow a number of people to ask questions for the same amount of time. So if they take 2 minutes, they get 2 minutes to cross-examine the witness before saying, yes, you're gonna represent us, or no, you're not gonna represent us. And the question I asked every single one of those people was, do you believe taxation is theft? Yes or no? And they would say yes or no. And then if they said yes, I would then say, if elected to this particular thing, let's say that they were going to be the railroad commissioner or the tax collector, whatever it may be, would you accept a paycheck that is funded through taxation? 99%. And I don't know if it's really 99%, but all but one person said yes. And whenever I said why, they said, because I'm poor. Oh no. So ethics don't matter if your bank account's low. It's like the stereotypical, if somebody was starving and they stole a loaf of bread, can you really hold it against them? If my bank account is low, can you blame me for taking on a government contract? Can you?
Yeah, and most of those people would not enjoy being called communists, but that is need erases evil. Need erases ethics. If you need that, give me that. What was your nickname?
NODA, none of the above, because I said none of the above so many times whenever they're like, who votes for this person, against this person, and like abstaining or none of the above. Like if you don't want person A, B, or C, you can always vote none of the above and the seat will be unfilled. There were many, yes, we'll just rubber stamp everybody go because, you know, their ethics isn't perfect, but they're better than the other guy, was the explanation from the people who were casting their ballots. I felt like I was in the trial of Socrates and people are writing down, make him drink the hemlock. Like,
Yeah.
he's offended the gods of the city, you know.
Be proud of your title. What it actually means is instead of none of the above, it actually means none of you people are libertarians. Oh, man. Yeah. Well done. Well done. Okay.
Derek had a good comment, just kind of pointing out the same thing you were saying. Does this mean that you or I could murder somebody if we warn them first? No, that's the point. The point is that you can't negate ethics by warning somebody that you're going to violate them in advance. Even if leaflets were dropped every day for 3 years, it still does not allow you to victimize peaceful people. That is the point.